Hello, Chris. Thank you for hopping on another episode of Nova Talks. Everyone, we have Chris Allaire here with a Verity, and he's joining us in a special episode of Nova Talks. Chris, would you mind introducing yourself for us?
Hey, thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. So, name is Chris Allaire. I am, it's been about me a little bit, from the Northeast originally, but I think like everything else, kind of moved around all over the place. I own a company called Verity. I is a technology staffing and recruiting firm. Started the company from scratch a little over 11 years ago. I've been in the staffing and technology staffing and recruiting business for oh boy, I'm gonna say almost 30 years. So that's a long time. I've been doing this. I've been doing this racket. So what can I say? Guitarist, golfer, husband, father, all around pretty cool guy. So that's 30,000 feet.
30 years is quite a time, quite a while, man.
A long time.
What made you get started
I have
in
no
in
idea.
that 3 years?
An accident. I was an athlete in college. I was a big time baseball player. Ended up getting cut, moving back home, and I really wanted to go back to business school, kind of finish some things up, etc. Answered an ad in the newspaper for sales, which I was like, listen, I need to make some money. I'm pretty extroverted. I could probably get some sales. Called the ad, and they invited me in for an interview, and next thing you know, I got the job. I didn't really know what I was going to be doing, which is pretty funny. But I knew I got to wear a tie and I got to work in the Back Bay of Boston. So I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And then I found out we were in technology recruiting, which is which I took to it like a duck to water. I've always been very like kind of hands on with the keyboard. Love tech. I played around with it a long time ago when I was a kid. I loved the idea of sales. I loved the idea of getting into an agency situation, the idea of being like a sports agent, something like that always interested me. So this just kind of naturally gravitated into my career, So, the first 3 months, I really, it was like some learning lessons. And once I picked it up, I shot off since, I was one of the top performers in the company, rapidly promoted to management, to office management. And that's been the story.
So then, when did you transition to having your own practice, your own firm?
So I kicked off a Verity in May of 2014. So at the time, I had built startups or startup offices for, I think I had done 8 or 9 prior to this. So either building staffing companies or building staffing offices in different locations between San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, uh, something else I can't remember in the middle there. So and I just saw a lot of different things, and different ways that business can be done, different ways the business should be done. And for me, I was really caught up with the way the business can be and should be. And the companies that I was working for were just reluctant to adhere to some of the things that I really thought were a little bit more, I don't want to say ethical, but just a better way to do things.
Yeah.
I finally in whatever it was 2014, I kind of started putting pen to paper and said, you know what, I need to go do my own thing. This is just not going to work for me anymore. So that's really, wrote down really what I wanted to do, what my goal, my purpose was, my mission, and that's how everything kicked off. So that's how I started it.
That's awesome, man. So you have a bit over a decade being your own boss, running your own business. That's awesome. I did want to ask you, since you mentioned you played baseball, I always found that there's a correlation between being an athlete and professions like sales specifically. Do you think there's a correlation there?
Yes. I've seen a lot of former athletes. I actually worked with a lot of former professional athletes that are in sales. I don't, it's something about your drive, work ethic. Not that other people don't have that, so it's not meant to be that. But I know that athletes typically have that competitive attitude, not only with other people, but they really compete with themselves. So they really know how to push themselves to be better. They know how to, practice. Sometimes, hours and hours, depending on what level you're at. There are days that you spend hours half the day at practice or always practicing or always pushing yourself. And then there's the weight room. So I think you take that type of work ethic combined with a competitive spirit and just like that type of horsepower and grit, the never say die attitude, the fact that in sales, you're going to lose a lot. And in sports, hey, you're going to get knocked down quite a bit. So you have that resiliency to get back up and go after it. So that's why I've seen a lot of athletes in sales and do very, very well at it.
Something, I completely agree. And I do think that delayed gratification is also a big thing that plays a role in athletes succeeding in roles like this. We know what it's like to grind for months, conditioning, prepping for the season, to then just play. And usually the prep is longer than the actual season. We play collegiate sports or you're running short seasons. You spend a lot more time prepping for the actual thing than actually playing. Olympic athletes are the same thing. They prep 90% of the time for that one showcase. So it's definitely a mental grind, and for sure it's something I could see that you embody.
So, yeah, awesome. It is. You have to have the dedication.
Yeah,
dedication and motivation. That's for sure.
So is there any particular story or anything that sticks out from your time being a business owner that you didn't necessarily have to face when you were working for the company?
Oh my God, everything. When you're working for an organization, it's pick up the phones, sell stuff, and but now as the CEO, owner, proprietor, I'm the brand.
Yeah.
So now the brand really starts with me and works funnels its way down. I've got operations, I've got finance, I've got marketing, I've got SEO I'm dealing with. All the umbrella operations and all the executive features that happens when you run an organization, fall on your shoulders. I have a very good friend of mine, and I love quoting him. He's like, to be a business owner, to be a CEO and a business owner, you have to be a masochist, because it's psychotic, going through some of the things that happen. It's not just about selling and cashing the invoice and you're like, great, now all the money's mine. There's so much more than that. There's so much more than that. And the bigger it gets and the longer it goes, you find yourself, it's an interesting thing. It's troubleshooting and it's management. And those types of things can't be taught. You really have to learn them, how to do them. And management is critical, especially if, God forbid, something goes wrong. You're the face of the company. It's your job to step in and say, hey, we're sorry about that situation. Let's see how we can right that. But if something goes right, you're not allowed to take the credit.
Yeah.
Because it's not hey, great, I did, thanks, but, John or Alex, the people that work for me, they did a great job managing that situation. They're awesome. So glad this worked out. So it's a humbling position to be in. And the amount of things that you'd end up dealing with on a day-to-day basis are, when you're first starting a company, it's, go sell things, get invoices out there, get money in the bank. But as you start to grow the company, all of a sudden, you're 25%, 30% of the time hands-on at the most.
Yeah.
So during some boom times, I had probably 4 or 5 years just sitting in a CEO seat. I had 40 something to 50 people, reporting up through various levels up into me, remotely. So that's a lot. There's a lot happens in there. There's no books. There's lots of books that are out there. But
there's plenty books.
The hell they're talking about, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So there's some good ones, but there's most of them you read, you're like, this is not the way this works.
These are one of those things where you can read as many books and it will never substitute the real thing. There's nothing like running and grinding through this role. And as you mentioned, it's a very humbling job. You absorb all the responsibility. Anything that goes wrong is on your shoulders. But whenever things go well, that is the result of your team. That is the result of the people who are managing those direct departments and making things happen. And that makes me, I've always wondered, and I would love to get your opinion on this. How accessible do you think that CEO role is? Do you think that's for everyone? Or does it take a special kind of individual
It takes a very special type of individual, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of people that want it because they love the idea of it, or they love the title of it, or they think that it's like, they read about it and like, oh, that's no problem. However, there's a lot of people I've seen that have taken on this type of position and have immediately said, like, you know what, this is just not for me. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be glamour and glitz and, private plane rides and, being interviewed by CNBC. And meanwhile, it's like, wow, you're fielding more crap on a day-to-day basis than you ever thought was possible. And that's just, there is a difference between being self-employed and being the CEO of a company.
What's
Self-employed is you work for yourself. You want to go out to lunch, you're not making any money. You don't feel like working, you're not making any money. Self-employed is, when you put the out to lunch sign on the store door and you're gone for the day. CEO means everything that's happening underneath you is you are responsible for. So, employees, if employees have bad days, if they have great days, if they have families, if they have, weddings, divorces, children, a birth, a death, whatever it happens, like these people are your lifeblood of the company, and the people that work for you and underneath you are the most important part of the organization. Because if you don't have people, you're just self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
So, the most important thing you can do when you go out there is hire amazing people and then treat them amazingly and let them know that you're going to be there for them, because without them, again, you're back to being self-employed.
Yeah, but I mean, that right there is a skill in itself. Finding the right talent, hiring the right people for the right jobs. What has your experience been like finding the right individuals for the right teams?
Trust your gut. Once you hire, if you've hired and worked with a certain number of people, you get an idea what works really well in your management style and in your setting. Most of those feelings are gut feelings. And I don't talk to people about their resumes. There's a lot of people I've hired that I don't even actually look at their resume. I just was like, listen, tell me a story. Tell me about what you've done. Why are we talking? Why are you interested? Tell me about challenges you've been through. And what I'm listening not for specific answers like, hey, what's 2 + 2 is 4. It's like, all right, I get that part. But what I'm listening for is their thought patterns, their articulation, their communication. I'm listening for genuine human beings, authentic people that care, that have been through trials and tribulations, that are ups and downs, that are, again, genuine. I have a word in my company that I use. It's called genuosity. And it's what I look for in people. I was like, I want genuosity. I'll teach you the game. The game can be taught. Like, anybody can be taught.
Yeah.
If you know how to teach it. But you can't teach someone to be a genuine, awesome human being. So, there may be some people that will underperform, but then that's a management thing that's dealt with a little bit later on. But for the most part, if it's managed correctly, they know they're underperforming and they know when it's time to go. And then it's like, hey, listen, then that conversation is relatively simple. It's not easy, but simple, because like you've had to know this was coming. Like, we know what the numbers look like. We know we're here. And then I've never had anybody look at me and be like, actually, no, it's not true. I have had one person look at me. What are you talking about? I'm amazing. It's like, dude, you haven't been to work on time in like 4 months. Like, we're really doing this. So, that's my story on hiring. I try to teach it to my clients. I teach it to my staff. And most, degrees don't matter to me. Where you went to school doesn't matter to me. Where you're from doesn't matter to me. None of those. I look for people who have authentic, and I listen for drive. I listen for people that I'm like, you know what? I want you to represent my company, my brand, and take it to the market. I'll give you everything you need to be successful out there. Just take it to market and treat it well.
That's awesome. So now that the landscape is changing, the game is changing with the advent increase of AI technologies. How is that currently affecting your operations?
Well, okay, there's two different sides to it. There's a client side and the company side and the internal side. Um, a lot of the tools that most of us are familiar with, right? You know, chat GPT, I'll use that main one. Amazing. It is my two favorite tools that I use are my note taker. So I do a lot of Google Meets. I use Gemini Note Taker and my chat GPT. And so when I'm interviewing candidates, whether it's a VP, a CTO, most of my conversations are everything's being recorded. And I shove it into ChatGPT and it spits out a note. And I have other tools that I use for this too. But it's like, give me a summary, give me some notes, give me the ideas that I came up with, formulate it for me, put it back, put it on my calendar. So the things like that used to be all done by hand, or the data entry, or it's great for the ideas. It's great for when you're running numbers and spreadsheets and stuff like that. It's great for you want to dump some information into it, spit it back out at you. It's awesome. And all those things are really operational aspects of the job. They're not the day-to-day activities of the job. They're the aspects of the job. So AI has got no business interviewing people. It has no business. I mean, it should not be involved at all in hiring, other than possibly like the note taking.
Yeah, like data entry kind of information.
Yeah, that type of stuff. Other than that, these things that are out there as far as like, AI screening resumes, AI writing resumes, that's brilliant, right? So you have AI screening resumes that have been written by AI. What? So go ahead and figure who's the smartest person in the room on that one.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's obviously not going to last very long. Thank God. The idea people are using artificial technology to interview candidates, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible idea. How are you going to hire somebody if you've had some robot? And how are you taking interviews seriously? If some avatar is interviewing me, are you kidding me? Like, it's like being interviewed by my dog. Stop it. All right. So those are the things on the recruiting side that I've seen a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of added features to it. Obviously, content creation, as you know, like everybody's out there in social media. You plug a bunch of crap into ChatGPT, spits it all out. You copy and paste it, and now you're a social media genius, which is all a bunch of BS anyways.
Yeah.
On the client side, because I'm in the tech space, it's been an interesting fight. AI has been, really a lot of it's been FOMO from investors. It's all the investment money in the last couple of years has been all through AI, and a lot of it from investors and the people who are outside of the tech world. They don't know what it really can do or what it's capable of doing. They're only reading the news and talking to their buddies and being like, we're all in on AI. But then they forget that the tech and the CTOs, the VPs of engineering, the people that are boots on the ground building this stuff,
Yeah.
they look at this and be like, our product has got no use for AI. Like, yeah, we've got some automation we can put in there. And we're already using machine learning algorithms to manipulate data and get us what we need. So we can probably improve that. But, you want to start, putting all your money into like building an AI bot, which is, what is this? It's going to be a chatbot. And you basically so this doesn't make any sense. So that's what we've seen in the last couple of years. And a lot of the tech teams that are out there from a lot of organizations that have been clients of ours have been handcuffed because they're like, we're not allowed to build anything new. We can't do anything because our investors, our VC money, or the C-suite executives are saying it's all AI. And the tech team's saying like, dude, you have any idea like how expensive this stuff is to run? You can't just write your own like LLMs.
No.
And on top of the processing power, and on top of the instances within the AWS, or it's not as it's wonderful, it's cool, it's a beautiful new ecosystem we're into. It's kind of the same way I look at it as when the internet came out. That's how long I've been doing this. It was really neat, right? and I mean like the real internet, like the .com. It's like, oh my God, but if you think about during that bust and boom, or boom and bust rather, it was, you know, everything was an online ordering, like pets.com, tables.com, this, and then like no business models, no nothing. And they were just throwing a bunch of crap against the wall, getting investor money and seeing how far it could go. I think things like that right now are with AI a little bit. It's the brand new shiny object in the room, and everyone's like, we have to use it, we have to use it, we have to use it. And then you've got other people going, well, why? And there's no answer. Mic drop. We have to use it. For what? Because they're using it. They're using it. It's like, but
it's a trend almost.
Yeah, but so what are they really using it for? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just use it. And so that's, I think, I've heard a lot of my entire network of CTOs and VPs. That's what they've told me as well. The nice thing is I've also heard some things lately on the tide is starting to roll out a little bit because we realize what it really can do versus what we think it can do and what we want it to do. It's going to be here forever, which is pretty cool. I'm anxious to see where it goes. I think the language learning models are brilliant for. I've got clients in the healthcare space that are using it like game changing, and I see what they're doing, and those are the things that I look at and say, like, that's what this was supposed to be used for. When doctors are talking to their patients, they're using a note taker. The note taker is interpreting everything that's going on, and now what it's doing is spitting out tasks and treatments and but direct information from the doctor, and it's putting it into a task-related usable format for patients to now look at this thing and be like, okay, so when I leave here, I have to do this, 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 and this. As opposed to someone being like, great, go pick out your prescription at CVS. And then you've got patients that are like, wait, what am I picking up again? Where, like, what, like,
What for? Why?
yeah, why, where am I going again? Like, okay, when am I coming back? And like, so they leave the room confused. And this is big in not only physical health, but mental health as well. So there's a lot of areas that are using it pretty like, I think that type of stuff is pretty awesome, and I'm really interested to see that goes. But
There was a
having a
video.
conversation on the internet with your pretend friend is, that's hey,
Yeah, that's the biggest use case right now.
fantastic, good job.
There was a video that went viral recently where AI was able to determine that someone had like pulmonary disease prior to the doctor even finding out, and it can detect sicknesses faster than it can read and diagnose someone based off of an exam much quicker than a human doctor could. And they're saying that now that can be used to change lives because it can determine whether or not someone has an illness, and obviously you can then take action quicker. So I think that's pretty awesome as well.
I think it's great because if anybody's ever been to the ER, you know what type of cluster that is.
Yeah.
God forbid if it's an actual emergency, you could be sitting there for a while. I had my appendix taken out because it was hurting and it was getting bad, and so I had to go to the ER, and I sat for 4 hours waiting for someone to and all of a sudden it was like, oh, Allaire, Christopher. I was like, yeah, that's me. And I walked in like, oh my God, you're the guy with the appy. We better get moving. And I'm like, dude, I've been here for 4 hours.
You don't say.
Like, wow, thank God you grabbed me when you did. And then I went under surgery a couple hours later, and then that was that. So to have this type of stuff be able to keep doctors organized, but not diagnose, but at least send out warning signals, right? That something might be something. Hey, this is something you've got to take a look at. Versus like, no, this person's just got a hangnail. We're fine, right? This person, they just got, it's not pink eye. It's just a bug flew in it. Mm-hmm. So there are things that it can be super helpful with, and I like that area. But it's no different than if you went on WebMD and typed in all your symptoms. Everyone's ever, you have cancer, you're going to die. Is basically what WebMD tells you. So
they'll never be your symptoms.
A little smarter, but I also know that there's family history, there's lineage. It doesn't know everything you've been going through. So there's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of things that let it get there when it's supposed to get there, right?
Take its course.
Yeah, let it happen naturally. We're okay. We don't need to be in a giant hurry.
So earlier you were comparing it to the beginning stages of the internet. Now I can see that you believe that this is here to stay, um, but where do you see this having the biggest impact first, past where we're at now?
Um,
I know it's a bit
I
of a loaded question.
I think that's a tough question. I think the language. I think the LLMs, the learning models, are going to be massive. I think that people are going to have systems that can read 55-page documents and contracts in the legal industry, and now a lawyer can just say, "Hey, find me, XYZ, whatever lawyers look for. I don't know what lawyers look for," and it can search through hundreds, if not thousands, of documents and cite references in more or less real time.
Yeah.
So I think that's insane. I think the language models also, as they go for just genuine search, right? Now, not everybody, but I mean, I don't know about you, and it could be an open question, but I don't go on Google anymore. I go on ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, what is this? Hey, what happens if this happens? Hey, what type of plant is this in my garden? It's the conversational aspects back and forth is elevating search dramatically.
Yeah.
So now where that goes, I don't know. There's things I think it might do. There's things I really hope it doesn't do. I think it's scary that God forbid you're introverted, that your connection is with a bot, not an actual human being. And if it can't replace human connection is what the part that I fear. And that's, and I don't think it should be replacing, it's going to add value to people's jobs, but to just say, hey, build this for me, and then, turn around and leave the room and have it come back and have it all be built for you. That's not good, right?
So you think it'll stifle creativity over time, and then also people will be more inclined to be by themselves, to being closed?
I think I think it's got the possibilities. I think it's got the possibility to do that. If you're chatting it up with ChatGPT, hey, bestie. Oh, hey, Chris, I got your back, bro. Oh, cool, man. Hey, thanks. You're the best. No, you're the best. And it does that to you. And it's so easy to get caught up in it versus the real world.
And it
Right?
learns, it takes history of your messages to really curate a personalized message for you after some
Yes.
time. So now it knows how you think, and knows your story, and knows what you need in those moments, and can feed you the direct answers to kind of.
Yeah. And think about it. I mean, if you're a teenager, you're like your teenage years are awkward for people.
Hmm.
There's a lot going on. And, human interaction is critical. Being out, as kids, same thing. You're, learning how to share, how to befriend people in the sandbox, learning how to make everybody your friend, learning how to you need that. Those are critical skills, and they can't be replaced, nor should they be. So I really hope that that's not where they. This is where I say it's almost scary because I call it the Jurassic Park. Just because we
Exactly.
should, just because we can, doesn't mean we should. Right? Hey, let's build dinosaurs. I love the idea. Have we really thought this out? Have we really thought this through?
Yeah.
So again, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Definitely got to weigh out the implications there. What's a bit unique about this scenario is that it seems that regardless of anyone's opinion or actions, this is moving forward, whether we like it or not. So I guess, for example, our parent company Nova Echo, we run a conversational AI platform in which we have AI agents give outbound and inbound calls, and they can execute custom actions and a whole sort of things. And every day we have to consider, who we sign up as clients, because those people will have access to our technology and be able to make phone calls. And being ethical is very important. We got to make sure that people aren't there spamming, or at some point people were, they were rigging elections, giving calls, acting as if they were people from the cabinet. And what happens there is that you now abuse this wonderful technology that we have available to us for something, for personal gain. And it shouldn't be that way. And of course, with any technology that comes up, same thing with the internet, there are going to be some bad actors. But I do have faith that the majority is good. This will be something to elevate us as a species, and I just have hope that the good would outweigh the bad.
I'm with you on that one because there's an interesting because I am one of those people. I'm the great white knight. That's good will triumph evil, right? Sheath thou sword.
Yeah.
I am. I really hope again for this calling technology and stuff like that. I saw stuff that can imitate people's voices. It can just call things, and I've had to have conversations with my daughters about, if there's ever an emergency, there will be certain people to call you. Okay. Yeah. You are never to go meet somebody somewhere to take you to go see mom and dad. Okay. Explaining that there is this technology out there that can fall into the bad hands, right? These are still very real scenarios out there, that there is still human trafficking.
Yeah.
Like it or not, right? It's there. There's a lot of effed up stuff that goes on. And now with people's ability to just find whatever they want, wherever they want, imitate whoever they want, I had a genuine concern about that. I was like, who's to say that someone's going to get my voice off the internet, right? And then use my voice to call my daughter.
Your daughter.
And say, hey, there's an emergency with mom. We need to, someone's going to come pick you up at school today or at the playground or something like that. Why can't that happen? So I'm with you. I hope that good triumphs, saves the day.
Yeah.
I like to believe that that's still out there in the world, but well, I'm also the eternal optimist, and I kind of tend to live in my little bubble. So I'll take that story and go to bed with it.
I think that beats the opposite, if I'll be honest. But I couldn't help but realize your shirt says "Amen" and something else below there.
Oh.
Amen corner.
Oh, Amen corner.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's from the Masters.
What was that?
It's from the Masters.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Well, I want to ask if faith plays any role in your life currently.
I'm spiritual. I'm not religious.
Okay.
I mean, from a spirituality standpoint, yeah, absolutely. From a religious standpoint, none whatsoever.
I have to agree as well. Same here. But we can move past that subject there. I guess, man, we should wrap it up with one last question. So we were talking about your hires and your company and sales in general. But what is one personal habit that made you realize and also helped to become the best CEO for Verity?
What's one personal habit?
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe let's see if I can rephrase this question to be a little more punchy. What would you contribute to be your biggest factor in the success that you've been seeing?
Well, okay.
If you can narrow it down to one
I'll
thing.
narrow it down. So honestly, because the corny answer, to be honest with you, is belief. I have an unwavering belief system. I live and die by the phrase that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And don't ask why, ask why not. And I will fail more than I succeed. and I will gladly do it over and over and over again until I figure out what makes it work. And I have an unwavering belief that I can and I will. The second, the more physical thing is I'm a habitual note taker, and everything that's in my head gets, as soon as I think of it, it goes into a list on my phone. It's called a brain dump. And if it's, I don't care what it is, like, oh, remember to pick up milk, which is something I actually just thought of. It goes immediately from my head onto a list. That has been critical for me over all the years because I go through that list daily, and then I categorize my list into everything from groceries to financial questions to companies I should call to don't forget to reach out to that guy, et cetera, et cetera. And then I look at it, and then I have stuff to do. Because the worst feeling is when you have a great idea, and then 5 seconds later, you turn around, you're like, what the hell was I just thinking about? Like, oh my God, what am I doing? And we've all done it, where you walk into the kitchen, you open the refrigerator, and you're looking, and you're like, I have no idea why I'm here. Or you open the cabinet, and you're like, no idea what I'm supposed to be doing in this cabinet right now. Because we lose it just like that. So from brain to paper, or from brain to, I use my phone for this, the note taker, the reminders on it.
Yeah.
Is critical to a point. And if everyone, my little secrets out there to all the husbands or men or whatever you want to, actually everybody, when you get an idea for a gift for your significant other, partner, friend, whatever it is, write it down. It'll happen all year long that you're going to be out shopping with, in my case, my wife. And she's like, wow, I really like this. Man, I've been thinking about something like this. It goes immediately into my notes under gift ideas for my wife. Birthdays, I'm on it. Mother's Day, on it. Christmas, on it. Random Tuesday gift, on it. Because I'm loaded with ideas. I don't ever have to do last minute shopping.
That's so simple, so brilliant. It's effective. Listen, I think I'm going to take that advice myself. I'm a habitual forgetter, if that's even a word.
Yep.
So this is something that definitely need to, me and probably many others as well.
So I tell you, once you start doing it, you're going to realize, like, wow, I'm loaded with ideas, and now I don't need to remember it anymore. It's on a list.
Yeah, that's true. I realized that once I write something down, I no longer need to really revisit it on my phone or wherever I wrote it down. It kind of cemented in my brain. But it's the act of writing it down that helps me remember.
Yeah.
It's good to do so. Great thing
Yeah.
to practice. But Chris, really quickly, can you plug us in? Tell us where we can find you and where we can find your company.
So a couple different areas. Now, obviously, so the company's called Averity, Averity. That's averityteam.com. You can find me on LinkedIn is the easiest from a social media standpoint place. So obviously, you'll get that link. So those are probably going to be the two easiest ways to kind of find me. I do, from a company standpoint, I actually, believe it or not, have 3 companies. I own Averity from the staffing firm. I own a company that does solopreneur. I do consulting on the side for to help young businesses and CEOs who are struggling or growing or trying to get their business off the ground, who have no idea kind of what to do to start with. So I have an organization called Add the Sun that does CEO consulting work. And I own a privatized network for elite people in technology called Techclusive, which is an invite and referral based only for the best in breed of technology to privately network and communicate, collaborate, tips, tools, and tricks and ideas with each other.
All right, awesome. Thank you. That all sounds sweet. But appreciate your time on this podcast. You were a pleasure having on. And we'll stay connected soon, man. Thank you so much.
Hammy, thanks so much for your time. It's been awesome.
All right. Thanks.